Amazing, amazing. And now we have this hand which is waving both to you and me. You see, it's so white. It's definitely from Norway, right? It's from still snowman here. I know you're in Costa Rica, and even people can hear we are already chatting. But I would like, yes, to make it as real, as authentic as possible, and that we are like smoothly into the just conversation with the flow, with the energy and frequency.
Yeah.
I'm so, so happy to welcome my new, very special, honorable guest today to Diversity is the Game Changer. Wow,
Mm.
from all the way from Costa Rica here to North.
Mm.
And this is a mystical one because I would like to present the name, but he's very, very special given name, and we don't know the real name, but this is the most real because now it's his identity. It's Ocean Eagle. Oh my God. Welcome, welcome to
Mm.
the show. Thank you so much that you
Yeah.
have chosen to give us the most precious commodity of all times. It's actually your time, because the
Yeah.
most really, really rare thing we can give to each other, and we can never get it back. It's our time, fully present and focused. Thank you so much to be
Yeah.
with us today.
Yeah. You're so welcome. I'm honored and grateful that you requested this. So looking forward to what we unravel here during this conversation.
Absolutely. And I have an episode title, which is Breathe to Become. And you will be
Mm.
telling us about your activational breath, and it's healing trauma, unlocking potential, and rewiring leadership from within. Because this is the most important. We have to do it first with ourselves, then to make impact. Because unfortunately,
Yeah.
many people teach still how to change the world, but they don't want to start changing themselves, right? So I would like to make an intro, and wow, you have, of course, accomplished so much in your life. And
Mm.
I just should briefly mention all your accolades and accomplishments, so we don't have this even 1 hour. Then it should be reality show. But I'll try to compress it a bit. So in our deeply transformative episode today, we explore a dimension of leadership that is often overlooked, yet profoundly. It's breath, body, of course, harmonical unity between them, the unseen
Mm.
architecture of human experience. And guest, today's special guest, not just a facilitator, he's a guide in the human nervous system, trauma healing, and the personal transformation. Ocean
Mm.
Eagle, founder
Mm.
of Activation Breathwork, 7-time published author, 5-time best-selling author, and a global facilitator of life-changing healing journeys. But his story did not begin with success, like so many profound stories, of course. It began with a moment
Mm.
of profound awakening. In May 2019, during his very first breathwork journey, Osho experienced what he describes as a spiritual awakening of biblical proportion. And in that moment, everything has changed from a life of survival to a life of purpose, from coping to leading transformation. And I can go further and further that since
Yeah.
then you have facilitated over 50 transformational retreats for women, men, and veterans, helped individuals heal trauma, addiction, depression, and deep emotional wounds, trained facilitate across the world. And like I said, a lot we could have just gone
Mm.
further
Sure.
and further. But beyond the titles, the most important, Ocean represents something deeper: the courage to face pain, the intelligence of the body, and the power of breath as a gateway to healing and leadership. So, welcome again to the show. I'm dying to first my
Mm.
question. Actually, of course, I would love to get the story about this very special name. But before actually you've become even Ocean Eagle, it was once. Beautiful boy, I'm sure. Look at you, you're a beautiful boy. And it was the kingdom of this small guy, Ocean. Let's be like this, right? And we know how much actually
Mm.
of DNA of childhood impacts our adulthood and mindset and decisions and life and everything. So
Yeah.
nowadays we are talking more and more about inner child, and yeah, and the importance of it for us. So could you please take us, before we go to the present and future,
Mm.
to
Mm.
your let's jump a little bit backwards to your childhood. Could you take us to the kingdom of this ocean boy, and actually how your childhood impacted your life, and general, how do you believe childhood actually impact our journey? Thank you so much.
Thanks for that intro. I've been not only, blessed to have alchemized my childhood into one of my greatest assets, but I've also been a part of raising 6 kids myself. So I've watched, yeah, I know. I had, I'll go into that adult life later on, but yeah, I've been married 3 times, and the second wife I married had 2 children that were 4 and 6, and then I had 2 children with her. And then I got married again later to a doctor who had 2 children as well. So there were 6 kids in my life at any given point. So, but my childhood was a childhood of massive trauma, abuse, abandonment, neglect, double alcoholic parents. Um, my father was extremely abusive physically and emotionally, man, and he was a heavy drinker, and he started abusing my mother at a very young age. And one of the scenes was when I was about 5 or 6. He came home one day in the middle of a Saturday afternoon, middle class neighborhood, and next thing you hear screams from inside the house, and the door slams open, and he drags her out of the house by her hair. He's dragging her down the driveway, and just very traumatic event that happened. And then they were separated. So I was 7 years old, and my dad came in on a Saturday morning, and my dad was in a rage that morning. Told me and my 8-year-old brother, I was 7, to go in the other room, and he took my mother into the bedroom. And the next thing you hear are the screams you never want to hear. And he hadn't locked the door, so we go in the room, and I don't have a lot of blacked out memories of my childhood, but I could tell you the color of the carpet in the house that day. I could tell you the smell in the house that day, the color of the kind of wallpaper. And my dad is on top of my mother. He'd ripped her gown into, brutally beating and raping the hell out of her, just raping the shit out of her. And looking back at us, screaming at us, and physically abusing her. She's looking around him in just terror, trying to tell us to go out of the room. It's going to be okay. Go out of the room. And I watched him look at us and look back at her, and just crack her jaw open with the back of his fist. That is my introduction to sex, at age 7. So he gets off of her naked, runs at us, calling us all kinds of names, shuts the door, locks it. And I'm 7 years old on the outside of the door, banging on the door. Please, Dad, stop. Please, Dad, stop. You know, and he goes back and rapes her more. So moments like that, that happen with anybody, much less children between the age of 1 and 7, that hardwires you for life. And that was a hardwired trauma that didn't really leave my body until my awakening at age 50. That's really when the energy finally, I was able to let go of that energy, because it had a hold on me, excuse me. So as you can imagine, going forward, my mother was an alcoholic. There was no therapy. There was no, going to psychologists. My brother and I pretty much immediately became latchkey kids. So my mother took us away from my dad, didn't see him for probably 4 years. And then my brother and I were left just running the streets, 7 and 8 years old, 9 and 10 years old, we were running the streets with no supervision. And my mom had us in the Bay Area of California, and decided to take us out of that situation and move us to Texas, out to West Texas. Um, so I spent the bulk of my childhood in West Texas. But 4 years after that event, my mother thought it was a good idea to put me on a plane when I was 10 or 11, 10. And the man on the other side of that plane was my father in California. And I hadn't heard from him or seen him or talked to him since he raped my mother in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
So no supervision. She flies us out there, and I don't remember going to the airport. I don't remember getting off the plane. I don't remember my dad picking us up at the airport. All I remember is my dad was a train wreck, living in this crappy little apartment. Didn't take time off work, left us locked in the apartment, And then at night he would come home and he would put us in the van and drive us down to the gambling card room. And he would lock us in the parking lot all night and tell us if we came out of the van, he'd beat our ass and go gamble and drink all night and then come back at, you know, 5, 6 in the morning, drunk, lost all of his money and take it out on us. So that's my hero. You know, that's my father. And more, as you can imagine, if that stuff happened, as he was in my life in some form going forward a little bit, you can imagine what other things happened. So my mom was back in Texas, and we went back to Texas, and she was hanging out at the bars and, you know, divorced my father, married another alcoholic, and he owned a bar
Mm-hmm.
in Sweetwater, Texas. So drinking was part of our life. It was at a young age, I was drinking alcohol. And so I just started drinking and using drugs as a form of numbing all the pain. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I was never, nobody was ever at my baseball games, my football games, and I was a standout athlete. But inside, I was just dead. I was just really dead. So I finally, you know, by age 25, I went to school on a baseball scholarship, but I walked away from that because I couldn't stay clean, couldn't stay sober. And so 25, I had 3 DUIs, driving under the influence, and I'd totaled 4 vehicles, 4 major car accidents, just, you know, subconsciously trying to kill the pain. You know, I just didn't want to feel anymore. And at age 30, I finally got sober. So I'm 57 now. So I've been sober for 26 and a half years. So that involved me going to a lot of Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. So I went to 630 Alcoholics Anonymous meetings my first year of sobriety alone. So in the meantime, in my 20s. I was in the car business. I was always a high functioning alcoholic. So I ran a Honda dealership with a bunch of employees, sold a bunch of cars at age 27, and then I got into real estate later on when I got sober. Divorced my first wife. We didn't have any kids. And then I married my next wife who had 2 children. I had 2 children with her. Got into real estate and got very successful. So I was in real estate for 20 years in Sacramento, California, raising my kids, coaching 15 seasons of sports, you know, scoutmaster, Boy Scout camps, volunteering in my kids' classrooms, doing everything for my kids that I did not have done for me, probably to a fault, probably overdoing for my kids because I just didn't have that growing up. So that's a quick shot of, you know, of where how I got to kind of the moment where I had my spiritual awakening started to come to me. Because I had done like 15 seasons of on and off psychotherapy with a psychologist,
Mm-hmm.
and we just never healed anything. We just talked, and we revealed it, we refelt it, but we never rehealed it.
Mm-hmm.
So I started looking at the spiritual side of life. Started having a couple of women introduced to me that they were really shamans, and they started working on me every week. And so I started learning about the spirit world, started learning about my inner child, started learning about the stuff I saw and was subjected to as a child. You can't handle that energy. So parts of you have to detach and go away. So my job was to find my inner child and bring him back. And that involved me starting to learn how to make better choices in life and
Mm-hmm.
setting healthy boundaries and holding my boundaries. Um, because my inner child wouldn't come back and play until I rebuilt the relationship with me and I rebuilt the trust with me. And that's about making choices and getting people out of my life that don't belong there. Stop people pleasing, you know. Yeah.
Wow, what a transformational journey. And I can totally relate, though I didn't have both parents addicted to alcohol, but my father was, and he was
Yeah.
exact abusive alcoholic and all this yeah, trauma. I'm sure he had carried his own trauma. He was
Oh,
bad
yeah.
own demons. That's why I'm not accusing him for who he was, but of course it didn't um, help me to, of course, not having a childhood. I can relate totally with you because I was also 7 years old and I was
Mm,
of access to the. He was not like raping, but also, yeah, I was totally abusive to my mother. And I remember how
mm,
I was screaming and I was like running into the kitchen. The whole kitchen was full of blood, and she
mm,
ran away. And we made like in Soviet, we didn't have a phones. You have to like run very far to find some kind of automat, put some 2 coins machine and call the militia. It was even not police,
mm.
right? So I remembered it was like now I know it was constant survival mode, fight
Yeah.
mode, right? And all this, of course, it's always uh, we are carrying the whole our life in our body. And like you said, therapy when it's just talking, but you don't, you like kind of shut down your body.
Mm,
You have embodiment. You
yeah.
don't work
Yeah.
with.
These two parts stop talking. They stop communicating. Yeah.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
you
Just total disconnect.
Yeah, that's why you should have actually this profound healing with energy and through the body because we are body, mind, and soul. We have so many bodies, right? Like
Yeah.
spiritual body, intelligent body, intuition body, and all this. But of course, especially when I also part of this Soviet, it was never ever mentioned that we are even individuals. We were just part of the system to serve
Right.
the unity, right? So
Yeah.
it was not really about us. So
I just trained a woman in activation breath work who's Russian. She worked with me privately back in early December, one on one, and then she came for facilitator training just 2 weeks ago. And I learned a lot about she was in Siberia and the North Pole, and I learned a lot about the Russian, what you guys have went through, and the culture, um, how you guys are. You go to school and you're basically told where to go to work and what you're going to do for a living, and you don't get a choice, and it's like crazy. It's like insanity to me. Yeah,
yeah, we are just bricks without soul, without identity, nothing. We
just
just
another brick in the wall.
exactly.
Yeah,
I'm so happy that you are showcasing your role model and inspirational flame now by your path to so many people and veterans and females and males. And can you tell more about this special awakening, life changing moment of yours and
yeah,
how actually you could feel it and how you could experience that this is your calling now, how you can actually
mm,
decide to really transform your life because this is very
mm,
different path, like first what you've experienced and then kind of normal-ish
yeah,
corporate and operative father and real estate successful businessman, and then this spirituality and energy, and how was your path and how actually you could feel that now you have that special calling to help
yeah.
others.
I was diving into the spiritual side of things, and I just heard the word shaman, and I went online and looked up shamanism. And I had read a book called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. Don Miguel Ruiz and his two sons wrote many books, but The Four Agreements was the main one that they wrote. And I
Hmm.
saw that they had a thing called the Gathering of the Shamans coming up within a couple of months.
Hmm.
And this is 2019. And I was, like I said, on my own little spiritual journey at that time, married to a doctor, hospitalist, pediatrician doctor who was an alcoholic. Didn't see it coming. I was blindsided by her alcoholism. And I was really white knuckling my relationship. And so I went to this retreat in Sedona, Arizona, and I didn't know anything about breath work. I'd never heard of it. Um, I was just really trying to open myself up to this spirituality stuff. And so I go to this retreat and I end up laying down in this breathwork journey with 85 people. And I, I'm an athlete, and if you give me something to do, I'm going to do it with everything I've got. And if you're going to challenge me, I'm going for it. So they said, breathe like this, and
Hmm.
you're going to do that for over an hour. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And the music was loud, and you're blindfolded, and I hear people starting to go crazy around me, but I'm just in my breath. And then the facilitator, Linda Starwolf, she comes over and starts moving energy on my sacral area in my lower belly.
Mhm.
She starts moving energy, and I mean, I'm like, ah, and then all of a sudden, boom, I am out of my body. I am never had an experience like this. I'm in the cosmos. I'm out in space. I'm flying around weightless, and it was real. And I was like, what in the hell is going on? And I felt this presence next to me, and there was these two luminous beings, and I looked down, and they both point to the constellation of Orion, and they said, you're from there. I said, you're not from here.
Mhm.
You're an ancient wisdom master, and we implanted a gift in you before you were born, and we're going to activate that now. And you have a job to do during this time of Earth's great transformation and great transmutation. You're here to help balance the masculine and feminine energy on the planet, and you're being called to serve. And I was like, in my mind, I'm breathing still, and she's still moving energy. I'm like, what? And like me? I got a real estate company. I got the $1 million home. I got the doctor wife, albeit an alcoholic. And what? So then she starts moving energy on my solar plex, and like that, I see a blue ball, and it goes whoo, and I turn into an eagle, and I'm flying all over Earth, and you hear about moment of oneness, and just immediate for me. You're the plants, you're the birds, you're the rocks, you're the streams, you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, female, masculine, you're a mountain, you're a tree, you're a car, you're a house. Oh my God, I'm everything. You're everything, and everything is you. And that's when I realized that we are all, everything is connected.
Mhm.
And she started moving energy on my heart. And keep in mind, there's 84 other people losing their minds. And but she's moving energy on my heart, and I put my hand on it. And then she blew her breath into my chest, and my heart turned into this massive gold heart, and just gold dust just exploded all over humanity. And I knew at that moment that I loved everyone. I knew at that moment that I had just been called. And it
Mhm.
was a complete cellular rearrangement for me, and it was immediate. Um, After the breathwork journey, I'm rolling up mats and helping clean up, and Star Wolf comes over to me and tells me the story about her grandmother, Twyla Nitch of the Seneca Wolf Indian Nation, who had the gift of spirit names that came to her. And when she died, that gift was passed on to her. She said, it doesn't happen very often for me, but sometimes I have a name come for someone, and said, I had one come for you. Would you like to hear it? And I'd never heard of a spirit name. I'm like, yeah, I want to hear it. She goes, the name that came was Ocean Eagle. And 19 years before that, when I got sober, I used to get on my knees at the ocean and pray to the ocean as my God to help me stay sober. And then
Mhm.
she had no way to know that I turned into an eagle during that breathwork journey. Um, so my whole body lit up. Um, that night, I went and looked in the mirror, and I cried like a baby. I saw through all the pain of my childhood. I saw through all the shame of everything I did as an adult. I was age 50 when this happened.
Mhm.
And so I had this moment of intense gratitude rush over me. And I knew at that moment that I would walk every step that I walked again to have that one moment at age 50. I would do it all over because I knew it was a gift, and I knew I'd just been called. And I looked in the mirror, and I told the creator, whatever that is, I said, I'm yours. I said, I'm yours. I'm in full surrender. And whatever you want me to do, I'm going to do. And then a voice started talking really loud to me here, giving me instructions all throughout my days, all throughout life, telling me what to do. And I started doing it. I didn't question it. Said, I want you to go home and ask for a divorce. So I did. I went home on Monday and asked for a divorce. And I want you to get rid of your real estate company. Got rid of my real estate company. I want you to go to Cyprus in the Middle East. You have work to do with Dr. Catherine Dimitriadis of CERN. You have to work on some actual intelligence technology. Okay, move to Cyprus. Kids thought I was crazy. Where are you going, Dad? I said, I got to go do some work over here. And it's been a journey. It's been a crazy journey for me of full surrender, not knowing what the outcomes are going to be. I still don't even know what that energy in Cyprus was all about still. Um, you know, but I knew I had been rearranged on a cellular level.
Mhm.
I could never see life again the same. Everything I can see through everything now. I see the illusion that everybody walks around in, and I walk around and I literally see dead people. You know, I see them in their meat suits just shuffling around in life, trying to attain the things that they've been taught to make them happy. and it's all bullshit.
Wow. First of all, thank you for sharing this so boldly, radically, honestly. I also prefer like integrity over applause, and I'm not following also the mainstream. And I'm so agree now about this dead bodies or not awaken. For me also,
Mm,
I've started my spiritual journey also like awakening maybe 3 years ago. I even have this one now. Maybe
mm,
it's awakening.
yeah.
And yes, it's through the painful journey and adversity you can really get this experience, I am sure. And I love very much the foundation of what you're actually preaching, and not just preaching but also doing. I can spot very um in everything what you're doing. Of course, it's a calling, it's a mission, it's purpose. I do believe strongly, but it's also trust. It's how
Mm,
actually base everything what you're doing now on self-trust, because
mm,
like you said, now you really are going through the special journey which you started like 7 years ago. But then
yeah.
you have to establish very special connection and relationship first with yourself, because this is the most profound foundation we can
Yeah.
establish. And then when your voice really inside your voice can tell you what to do, you feel, and this is the most right decision, right? And now, like you said, so many people, they're just walking like blindly this life,
Mm,
are
mm,
following somebody's instruction. And we know how easy now to instruct people and manipulate through the social media what's actually happened every single day. And the most
yep.
scary happens with those still um, young souls, that they are now like kind of in darkness. Because I can see my kids, I have two daughters, they turn 17 this years, and I try to, of course, give them example by showcasing how I perceive the world and life, and not be just like transformed totally by social media. But it's also difficult choice for parents to separate from their like normal life, because right,
Mm,
this and circumstances, everything actually push so hard that you have to be the part of this matrix.
yeah.
So what would be your advice actually, how maybe especially for young people to find this inner trust, that they, if they feel they want to break from the system and actually follow their own path, and even go as as early as possible in the spirituality way, how they can actually like maybe step by step walk
I
this way.
th- I I feel that all we can do is, because nobody could tell me anything. I had to experience. My wisdom is earned. Nobody told me something and then I just believed it. I had
Mm-hmm,
to go experience life. And my 20-year-old son is getting ready to go into the military. I don't want him to, but I can't stop him.
mm-hmm,
So the parents have to, A, be there for their kids and show up and be a presence in their life, father and mother. Both. They need that duality. They need a healthy mother and a healthy father. Even if the people can't be together, they need to see that, because women are going to go seek love from men, or they're going to go seek love from women too
mm-hmm,
soon, too early, and in unhealthy ways, because mom didn't show up right or dad didn't show up right. So 90%, the numbers are 90% of prisoners in the United States came from fatherless homes. 90% of prisoners came from fatherless homes. So
mm-hmm,
when the father's not there, their lives turn to shit. So for the parents raising kids right now, and you have teenagers right now, you have to show up for them. You have to be an example for them, but you also have to learn how to let them go, and you have to learn how that they're on their own karmic mission. If you really believe that we're just, spiritual light beings, God particles, using these avatars to further our own personal, I'm not here to further my kids' evolution. I'm here to further mine.
mm-hmm,
And when I die, they don't come with me. They're going to go on their journey. So I had to. My daughter's 22, older boys are 28 and 30. The other two kids from the 2-year marriage to the doctor, I'm not in their lives, but everybody's on their own path. All four of my kids are, they're so different. So I have to let them go. So when we grab on too tight and we hold on too tight, then we actually choke the relationship out. So
Mhm.
I really believe that we have to let them find their way. And who am I to say what that way is? Who am I to get involved in the creator's will for them?
Mhm.
So it's within the letting go that we set ourselves free in all things. So I think we have to learn to let go of, especially expectations, because the lower my level of expectations, the higher my level of happiness. So I expect very little out of humans.
Mhm. This is the right one. Yeah, let's have just some kind of intentions, but not expectations to avoid to be so, yeah,
Yeah.
disciplined. That's not easy, of course, but yeah, I understand what you mean. And can you? So actually, basically, you've been creating all this empire just for 7 years.
Yeah, I
Everything.
mean, the awakening happened for me, and then the energy and stuff started coming in. Yeah, I was never a writer. I'd never written a darn thing. Didn't want to write anything. Then all of a sudden, a voice started talking, said, "You need to write. You need to write. You need to write." I've been part of writing 7 books. I'm a 5-time best-selling author, and it's just all just. I'm ready to write another one, and the information's there and the energy's there. I'm going to write a book called "The Alchemy of a Shaman from Trauma to Enlightenment."
Mhm.
So, and but yeah, so I'm just in surrender to the energy, and then how breath work came to me because of my awakening happened. I wanted to learn it, so I went and trained for a little while, and then I realized I needed to make it my own thing. I wanted to do it different,
Can
so
you
I created.
Can you explain, because you are the founder of activation breathwork? What actually the whole concept? What actually means? Like, if people there, like you said, never heard about, because I know I've been in holotropic breath, and I'm myself instructor, the certified instruction in mindfulness, kriya yoga, and meditation. So I know a lot, but people, if is it any special type of breath work which you call activation? What actually you mean by
It's
activation?
kind
What
of
exactly?
it's kind of my spin on holotropic. Um, but I work through the 7 chakras. So I work to activate the 7 chakras. My playlists actually start in the root chakra and go all the way up through. They're intense. My journeys are between an hour to an hour and a half long.
Mm-hmm,
And how I showed you, all the way to the belly. So we're like pulling the Kundalini energy up, or the serpent. We're releasing the serpent. When we breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, we actually balance the CO2 and the O2 levels properly, and we
mm-hmm,
create homeostasis. So we create a moment to heal. And what we're
mm-hmm,
also doing when we breathe that heavy and that long and that deep is we're building nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is a vasodilator that expands all of our blood vessels. So we get the tingling, the numbness everywhere, and some people lock up in tetany because their body's not wanting to let go of the trauma it's holding on to. So we have to do enough breath works in a short period of time to release that energy. People that have trauma, abuse, abandonment, neglect have what I call black body mass and black body radiation in their bodies. And this
mm-hmm,
thing called the rectifiers, this 24 organ rectifier circuit. It's like 24 batteries. And when one of those batteries heats up, then it explodes and releases radiation into the body. And that's creating cancer, kidney failure, liver disease. And yeah, it's coupled with the bad energy we're bringing in from the outside. But if our inside is right, then it'll protect us. It won't infect us. So we have to clear that and break up those conglomerate masses of stuck, stored, trapped energy that are activated by the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the ears, the senses. When we get triggered, it happens here and then it shoots it to where that is stored, and we get disease. So people working with me, when we build serotonin, we build dopamine, we build oxytocin. When we're breathing that way, it's our own medical chemical plant. It's our own pharmacy. And when we're blowing through the pineal gland, which if you understand the pineal gland, it's pine and all, pine eel,
mm-hmm,
pine all. If you look at the Anunnaki relief carvings from ancient Sumeria, and you see the winged gods, they have a pine cone in their hand, and they're pointing a pine cone at people's throats and their head. Why are they pointing a pine cone at people? It's a pine cone. And you have statues of pine cones that they worshipped. So the pine eel, pine all, right?
Mhm.
All is ancient word for God.
Mhm.
So that is your access to God. So
Mhm.
by calcifying people's pineal glands, they block people's access to the Creator and to your higher self. So that's why they put fluoride in the water in the United States for all these years. It calcifies the pineal gland and it blocks you from the pituitary and the hypothalamus. And that's where we build the DMT that's in ayahuasca. We build DMT naturally and we open up the third eye naturally when we breathe this way. So
Mhm.
coupled with the energy movement that I do with the hands, I move on the feet, I move in the sacral, I move in the solar plex, I move energy on the heart, move energy in the temples, third eye, and open the crown. And I can get very energetic with people. I can put them in a full back bend. I can crawl underneath them and put them off the ground. I can bend their knees back, put their feet on my chest and push and breathe with them. And one of the main objectives is to get them to open their throat chakra because most people, especially like from Russia, you don't have a voice. You weren't
Mhm.
given a voice. So you have what I call the forsaken child wound. It's the child that was never seen, never heard, never loved. So when I get people to clear that and they can open that throat chakra and that they understand that they matter and their voice matters, then they have to learn how to speak their truth fearlessly. And that's
Mhm.
about setting boundaries and about who's allowed in our life, who's not allowed in our life. So that's all part of the 7-step alchemical process I put them through. Calcination is the burning off of everything. I do sweat lodges at all of my retreats. The separation, dissolution, dissolving, fermentation to finally coagulate. So the first six steps of alchemy is separating the body and the spirit. And then the seventh is bringing them back together as a new being. So I work through the seven chakras, the 7 steps of alchemy, and I put people through a whole process when I work with them. But when we're building those chemicals, the physical healings that are taking place are incredible. So I've worked with a lot of people with cancer, and their cancer cells die immediately. I work with people with plantar fasciitis, erectile dysfunction, high blood pressure medicine thrown away in one journey because we're opening up the blood vessels. People are
Mhm.
learning how to breathe. And most people short breathe and constrictive, shallow breathe because of trauma and anxiety and fear. They don't even realize they're not breathing.
Mhm.
So
Just
so they're not
very
getting their
surface.
medicine. Yeah. What's
Yeah, I
that?
know. I said we believe we are breathing, but actually we use just surface breathing, just 30% of capacity of our lungs.
Just
That.
cheering up. Yeah, right. Exactly. Chest breathing. So
Mhm.
when I teach people how to go all the way to the belly and get there, we can actually activate the infinity symbol in us, where the fusion reactor is right in the middle, where you're the teacher and the student. So left side feminine through the classroom, you're teacher and student, right side masculine, down through the gut, intuition, back left side feminine, back through the classroom, right side masculine, and out. So when we
Mhm.
run that process, right, then it's healthy discernment. And then I can get the answer here and I can push that frequency from my heart brain. And when I speak from there, that is a whole different vibrational frequency that the world receives. It
Mhm.
starts bringing everything to me naturally. I don't have to force my will on earth or on other people. They just go away and create new space for the right people to come into my life.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I got to know, but I got to get there first. So we got to clear all this stuff to get there.
Mm, amazing.
Yeah,
You know what I'm sitting and reflecting more and more because I do believe so strongly we have to have systemical change in the whole actually world order now. How we should actually approach everything what's going on and through these special frequencies and energies and spirituality. And
yeah,
I believe why we always like kind of care so much and mm, can hear about first aid medical kit we have to put with ourselves, but now then we are talking just about different kind of trauma which is physical, but the most important actually we have to teach our kids even from very young age to be able to use first aid medical kit, but I mean psychological medical kit of
yeah.
first aid,
Emotional,
our
psychological, and
breath.
emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, it's our breath actually, so it's
We
exactly
need to
what
teach
they.
them. We need to teach them to breathe. We need to teach them to meditate. We need to teach them how to be still.
Mhm.
We need to teach them how to self-regulate through the breath. And I do the power breathing, but I also, teach people how to like slowly through the nose and out of the mouth, just. And when you get good at that, you can come in for a minute and go out for a minute. And it's still going to the lower belly with the breath in. Just you hardly take any air in at all and you regulate it. And then you go all the way to the top and then you slowly open a little hole in your mouth and you don't blow a bunch out, just a little. And you feel your whole body drop and sink. And then you do that like 5 times and you are present.
Yes.
You self-regulate because all you're focused on is bringing that in and bringing it out. So when you do that in a group, I've done it in a group, it shifts the whole group, just me doing it. It sends out a vibrational frequency in my field of peace and calm. You felt it when I did that.
Mhm.
We can all do that. We need to teach the kids to do that. We need to teach them to slow down. When you feel angry, brother, sister, mom, dad, go breathe. Go sit outside, go sit by a tree, go sit by water, go get in nature and just take some breaths. And
Mhm.
kids love it. I've done it. I've done it in a second grade class. I've done it in elementary school and they just love it. They giggle. They just think it's so cool when they build nitric oxide and they feel high. Like that's fun. I'm like, yeah, we can all do this. Yeah.
Absolutely. Can have this fun. My last topic I would like to touch on, because this is my profit and my calling, purpose, mission, and vision. It's about neurodiversity, and it's so interconnected, of course, with breath and
Hmm.
frequency, energy, everything what you are teaching and healing and growing people awareness about, because we know that neurodiversity is actually basically biodiversity, how our brain wirings works, how perceive the
Mm.
world, and how our cognitive executive functions work, right? And I'm preaching that we actually need this uniqueness to solve all these problems of complex challenging world now, but
Yeah.
also it's from natural part. If you just look into the nature has absolutely all answers, right? That for
All of them.
biological like circles, we need all this biodiversity to thrive and survive. And why we do believe that all of our brains should be like, in the sameness, right? So
Mm.
but because of that, still many systems, they are designed for neurotypical people, and like not for people who thinks out of the box. And then I'm OCD myself, neurodivergent, and then uh, it's a spectrum, and many people now who are identified actually more and more coming out, and we talk openly about ADHD, OCD, dyslexia, dyspraxia.
Mm.
That actually it's mental uniqueness. It's not deficit based. How do you? Uh, can relate about actually connection between how we can regulate our emotional intelligence, especially for people who even more vulnerable,
Mm.
like
Mm.
neurodivergent demographics, how they can benefit from breath work and self-regulation.
I was sitting in an office in Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles with one of the medical directors there, Dr. Ryan Cotton, and I was working with one of his private clients, and I was working privately with her. She's a very well-known, famous woman, working on her, one breathwork journey got her off of her benzo, clonopin, clonazepam that she was on for 30 years. That she was meditating or medicating um, her fears and her trauma and her anxiety for 30 years. So I'm talking with him, and he just shows me a nervous system chart from a guy that was just in his office. It was a nervous system scan, and it showed all these red broken synapses. And I looked at Ryan and I said, Ryan, I said, breath work can reconnect all those broken synapses, including with the brain. It can get the brain and the nervous system, talking again and speaking correctly. And he looked at me and said, Ocean, I completely believe you. He said, I said, well, and he had a big grant coming, right? A big bunch of money coming for research. And I said, what do you think the chances are of us peeling off some of that money to research how breath work can help the brain and the nervous system reconnect and communicate. He said, zero. There's no, they'll never let me use any of that money for that. You know, so breath work is natural, it's free. So it can reconnect all the broken synapses. You know, I think it can correct, it can increase neuroplasticity. I think it can open up people that have blood clots. That can all be cured with breath work. A good friend of mine, Dr. Nathan Bryan, has the only nitric oxide lozenges that I believe work that can help people that don't build nitric oxide naturally. Um, I think anybody can build nitric oxide by breathing the way I tell them to breathe. Some people want the shortcut. They want to try
Mhm.
something different, but you know, I believe when we breathe through the nose and through the mouth, we're connecting right into the brain, you know, and then we're pushing that energy down and we're creating this new beautiful union in the body. And whether it's genetically predisposed when you're born or whether it happens when you're here through trauma here, um, you know, I believe that people on the dark forces on the planet understand genetic hardwiring. I think they understand that somebody that has genetics from the Holocaust or genetics from the Spanish Inquisition or genetics from Egypt or genetics from name it. I believe they know that they are activating that trauma, that hidden buried trauma. And I think they know how to do it. They create certain events in the world and people get locked up in fear and they don't know why. And they also turn into just sheeple. They just start, okay, following, following, following and they don't have the ability to think for themselves and to think outside the box, like you say.
Mhm.
Because what do we do with our kids? We put them in a box, right? We
Exactly.
put them in a box. So they hit a wall, they hit a wall, they hit a wall. There's
Mhm.
nothing in the universe has edges and right angles. Everything is fluid. Everything should flow. You know, you've seen, and everything is vibrational frequency and sound. You've seen the metal plate with the sand on it, and they change the frequencies, the cymatics, and it
Mhm.
changes into geometric shapes just by sound. The sand goes into geometric. That's our cells. That's us on a cellular level. So when we're changing the frequency that's coming in, because I believe in the universal frequency matrix that we all belong to. And I think there is a frequency designed for you and one designed for me. And the
Mhm.
closer I get to that frequency, the more magic happens in my life, the more powerful I am, the more I raise my vibration and frequency to those levels of, say, you know, enlightened beings in the past, then I believe more power comes in for me. And I believe everybody has access to that.
So beautiful. And I do believe so much in frequencies and waves, and especially of and magic. And magic we can do ourselves, and we can inspire each other to create even more magic in togetherness. And I'm always playing at the end of my show, and then I'm joking with people and say, "Oh, now it's the time to invite my vice president in the studio," and everybody, "Oh, you know." We have a reward that actually we will be trio, powerful trio. It will be one more person, and then I'm pulling out. This is my vice president.
Nice.
Yeah, so beautiful. She is. Oh my God, she is so tremendously stunning, magical helper. She's so tough and sustainable. Pink, my favorite color, and golden, beautiful, and of course, a big helper. And
Is that
uh,
like Aladdin's lamp?
exactly, this is
I
my
love that movie.
I love, yes, and you know Aladdin's lamp. She was very cool, and she could grant 3 wishes because she actually served by just Aladdin, right? But because
Mm,
my want to help as many guests as possible, so we are focusing on quality, not on quantity.
yeah.
But what we can suggest and ask our guest actually to um, make a beautiful wish as they wrap in our episodes, and they can then my vice president she can work to fulfill this dream or
Mm.
wish or magic. So now it's time for you to come with your wish for my vice president, what that wish would be.
Regarding this episode or regarding anything in
No,
general?
it can be everything from pizza with
You know,
pineapple
my
to
my
the peace in the world. So
Now, my wish is that more people understand that they are the answer, that they stop looking outside their bodies, that they understand that they have the ability to heal themselves. I've watched it happen emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and it doesn't have to come just from me. I want people to learn how to do this so that they go teach more people. And I want the ripple effect. It's not about, how many people, it's about me affecting someone that can go affect someone that can go affect someone. So I want the ripple effect of self-healing to be heard. And I want everybody off the pills, powders, peptides, psychedelics, and devices, and just to learn how to regulate their own system through healthy food, exercise, and removing the trauma body that they're wearing on their skin. Yeah,
amazing.
that's my
I'm
wish.
joining with all my frequency and my cells, the ripple effect of self healing. That I'm totally also into that. We are all answers. We are so unique. Have
Yeah,
all our purposes, calling, mission, and vision on this earth,
yeah,
and we have. That's why we don't have to actually compare. We should be in service ship for each other, and united we are so much stronger. But we should start from ourselves.
yeah. I
Thank
have
you
no
so
gurus. I have no gurus, no masters. That's me. I'm in the school of self mastery, and school is always in session. So, I'm always trying to get better. I tell everybody, they ask me, what's the simplest thing you can tell someone? I was like, be better today than you were yesterday, and repeat that tomorrow. If you do that, eventually you're going to be a really cool human being.
Mm, amazing.
Yeah.
That's why I am so happy that today you have helped me to be a better person than yesterday, and you will be definitely in my evenings gratitude meditation. That's for sure. I
Thank you.
always start my morning with gratitude meditation. That I woke up and actually it's a new day, new path, new breath. Which is actually every single breath. It's new life and it's new path,
Mm,
right? It's the
yeah,
answer. We have everything here under our nose.
I do. Everything's here. Yeah.
Absolutely here, yes. And that's why I would like also to wish you to meet as many people, individuals, beautiful souls in your life path, because we know leadership, it's stewardship, and leadership by what we are doing, actually it's a
Yeah.
responsibility. It's how we can actually help each other. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for
Yeah.
you being.
If anybody's interested, I've got a women's retreat coming up in Costa Rica in June. So
Yes,
we'll
exactly.
share.
It should be my last question before I said
Oh,
that if you would like to, yes, exactly, tell us and people, my audience, where they can find you and more information about upcoming projects. So please, this is the very right moment.
yeah, you can find me at I am Ocean Eagle on Instagram, all one word, I am Ocean Eagle. That's where I'm
Mhm.
most active. You can also go to my link tree in my bio. My
Mhm.
link tree has everything. I'm updating my website, oceaneagle.org. Um, and you can find me there. And then I have a women's retreat coming up here in Costa Rica in June. 8 days, 7 nights, all inclusive, women only. I have one of my trained female facilitators holding space for that. And then I have a Get Sober, Stay Sober men's retreat, 13 days, 12 nights here in Costa Rica, where we're going to get sober and learn how to stay sober. And then a trip to Egypt coming up in October. So that's just a fun trip. So anybody that wants to join, it'll all be on my link tree.
Amazing. So please go. I am encouraging everybody. It will be absolute transformational journey
Yeah.
of you. Thank you so much again. And yes,
Thank you.
we are all the answers, the beautiful answers of wisdom and oneness. Thank you
We
so
are.
much.
All
Yes.
right. Lots of
Okay.
love. Thank you,
Yes.
dear.
Love
All
from
right.
Norway. Bye. Bye.
And Costa Rica. Cheers.
Yeah. Bye.